Hello there folks, it is Sloppy Saturdays, and we've got Naysmith playing as the Force Commander here. Very beautiful looking Force Commander, look at him, I love the colour scheme. Looking quite regal, looking very intimidating, looking thick today, this Force Commander, looking very thick. God only knows what his quadriceps look like underneath this armour. Must admit, I find it so weird how Space Marines so often have this weird plating on their lower legs that's super wide, even though, you know, your lower legs in real life are so much smaller than your upper legs. Does anyone else find that weird, or is that just me? Fucking weird. Anyway, he's going to be fighting against different Space Marines, some Ordo Malleus. Grey Knight Brother Captain, leading them, being piloted by DawnsElite. So, not actually seen any of DawnsElite's play yet. We'll have to see how it does. Obviously, you can't judge a player on one game though. I know he gave the Ordo Malleus a good go and was not too impressed. Probably because he's playing Blood Raven's army scheme with his Ordo Malleus, which is a bit weird. But sure. Let's see how they do. So, Strike Squad moving in here. They should not be fighting the Force Commander. They need to be tying up the Tactical Marines. He's just sort of running around trying to dodge these special attacks right now, which is a problem. And the IST flank, but they walk completely out of cover and leave themselves to be focus fired by the TACs, so that was quite unnecessary. The IST there should have came around the bottom here, so they're running alongside cover, got into position for the green cover to set up the enfilade onto the scouts and the Force Commander, whilst the Strike Squad immediately should have ignored the Force Commander, so ran down this way, hugging the cover to tie up the Tactical Marines. Likewise, Brother Captain, I don't even know what the Brother Captain was doing there. I think he was just slapping the Force Commander. That's a mistake, because he doesn't do a lot of damage. He should just be tying up the range units, and then forget the Force Commander, deal with him afterwards. So that is a good engagement for Naysmith. We've got a very light build from DawnsElite. Should get some good damage on the tax here with the grenade from the Sergeant on the IST. Let's see. Yeah, okay damage. Not enough to kill a model though. So this is fine. Let's just route the FC and then move on after that. Another battle cry. So at this point, strikes really just need to get out of there. They're not really achieving a whole lot. They're just getting shot and knocked around, and you really don't want to lose a strike model. Okay, they do get out of there. As I was saying, light build for DawnsElite, so he's going to struggle on map control at the start because, as you can see, he's up against double scouts. So there's 3 units to cap right now for the Space Marines. Tax cap 50% quicker, Strike Squad done. It's going to be hard to maintain map control. Power Sword is on the way for Naysmith. I mean, FC's put in some pretty good work so far. Could see a lot of investment on the FC actually be quite handy here. I wonder what DawnsElite is gonna get next. It's a bit tricky actually. When you don't have 2 IST, it's kind of a problem trying to focus fire the Force Commander. So normally your anti-melee is your Purgation, but Purgation having flamers not really good against single entities. They rely on that splash, don't they? So Purgation probably not going to be very effective here. I mean, it would just allow Naysmith to go for ASM and then dominate you in melee. Operatives probably a better choice in terms of getting another range unit to shoot the FC and also to help counter any isolated scouts on the sidelines. I think some operatives would actually be quite handy. He's going to need more ranged units to deal with double scouts and Force Commander, but after getting the operatives, I would probably get interceptors. So he's going to go for the interceptors first. Be interesting to see if DawnsElite follows up with another unit, or if he tries to ride this tier 1 with just 3 units. This is a very light tier 1, and I think when you're behind so much like this, I mean, look at the map control right now. DawnsElite has 1 requisition point. Down 300 VPs. When you're down so significantly, I think you need to pump out more units in order to try and compensate for that and get back and not let your opponent sort of snowball the game out of control. The only time when that wouldn't be the case is if you are intentionally doing some sort of fast tech strategy where you will lose map control but you won't get any more units in tier 1 because you want to get to tier 2 super quickly. And that is not what we're seeing right now. So interceptors hit the field, first time Naysmith, oh god, I can't even speak, first time Naysmith has seen them. And one of the great things about interceptors is those storm bolters do tremendous amounts of damage for a melee unit. And actually they're the scouts. You've seen that Naysmith was trying to kite them like he would a slugger squad, and he got punished pretty badly for it because the Stormbolters and the Interceptors did a lot of DPS to those scouts. Ended up wiping them, so that's pretty good for DawnsElite because now it's 3v3 again. So he doesn't have to get another unit, but he is still losing a lot of map control. He's forced off here. Good timing on his retreat there. Hasn't lost a strike squad model yet, I don't think. And that's important. Stormtroopers having a bit of a scrap here with the Tactical Marines. One TAC has died. A bunch of Stormtroopers died as well. I don't know why the Tactical Marines were running off there. Probably could have just forced melee onto the IST. I don't think the Sergeant for the IST does that much melee damage, even though he does have a chainsword. I think the TAC should have won that quite easily. So we're seeing some mistakes from Naysmith here. Interceptors come out, trying to get a wipe on the Tactical Marines. Might be an idea. Yeah, he's got the 50 red for the energy boost to have teleported again. Might have even got a wipe on the Tactical Marines if he used that global and did another teleport with the Interceptors. Maybe. I mean, it'd be worth it anyway, I think, just to kill the Tactical Marine. I think 75 rec for 50 red is a very good trade for the Ordo Malleus. ASM a bit uncontested at the moment. I mean, the melee for the Ordo Malleus is very busy elsewhere on the map. This is looking pretty scary for these IST. Retreat. Yeah, they retreated in good timing. If the ASM, of course, landed, knocked the IST over prior to the retreat, that would have been a wiped squad. So, decent awareness actually from DawnsElite here. Naysmith has decided to go for 1 gen on each farm. So he's running very light on gens. Yeah, now he gets his 3rd gen. That's really late for a 3rd gen. Did have this contested node in the middle. I don't know how long he's had the node here, but that's basically like having another gen. So it's actually going to be a fast Grey Knight Dreadnought for DawnsElite. DawnsElite, yeah, must have got his gens up really early actually. It's quite a... well, this is a rare map, but it seems like it's very hard to get gen bashes on this map, looking at it. It's a very safe gen farm. The ones on the western side, super close to the base. But wow, look at the VPs. 500 VPs for Naysmith and less than 175 now for DawnsElite. That is a huge problem for him. He needs to start outnumbering the Space Marines here, or he's going to be forever falling behind on VPs. And, well, it's not going to take forever to lose the game on VPs at this point. Really getting low right now. It's becoming quite a serious problem. So Sternguard are the choice for Naysmith here. A bit of a strange choice if I'm being honest. I don't really feel like the IST have been much of a threat for him. I'd have probably just slapped a plasma gun on my tax and left it at that. That will do way more damage than what the Sternguard can do to heavy infantry. Because you've got to remember, not only does the plasma gun do 50% more damage to heavy infantry, which is already better than the Kraken rounds, but when you go to Sternguard you lose the Kraken round ability, and that gives you 20% more damage against heavy infantry, so you can get 50% more damage from the plasma gun and then boost that by another 20% with that ability, and it really does melt heavy infantry. See, the Psychic Lash comes out there, so it's a speed reduction and a damage spike to a single model basically. It did kill one of the Sternguard there. Grey Knight Dreadnought's doing its thing. Kick the shit out of the Force Commander. What's going on over here? Strike Squad. What's going on with the sound? It's really weird. Whoa. This is like... what is this? What the hell is this? This is the weirdest thing ever. I'm hearing the Flamer Dreadnought still. This is so weird. I was freaking out like I've got a sound bug, but ever since I did the FPS change, I've never had the sound bug. I want to see what happens. I'm not going to crash, right? Hang on, let's tab out for a second. That's not working. Okay, I'm gonna have to come back. Hang on, guys. How weird. I've never had this before in my many years of playing Dawn of War. What the actual fuck? Okay, be right back. Alright, we're back, and the Dreadnought's dying. I zoomed past the time I was meant to go to on 4 times speed because, you know, replay problems in Dawn of War 2. It'd be lovely if we could fast forward them, but we can't. Here you go. The Dreadnought does actually survive. God bless it. God bless the Grey Knight Dreadnought. Okay, and interceptors are going to get out of there. So, map control looking very favourable for DawnsElite right now. Last cannon was the AV of choice here for Naysmith. We do have the Melter Bomb. Melter Bomb right now, if it lands on the Grey Knight Dreadnought, will wipe it. But there is not enough energy right now for a jump into Melter Bomb. So that Grey Knight Dreadnought needs to get some repairs and needs to get its ass moving. Vindicator is on the field now for DawnsElite. We'll see how it does. Pretty scary, honestly, to use Vindicator against the Space Marines, particularly the Force Commander. You've got the ASM, who are a threat. You've got potentially infiltrated scouts with shotguns, which could be a big threat. You've got teleporting Force Commander, but we don't see any shotgun scouts at this point. When did the other scout even die? I don't recall. So there was a dead scout. Oh, I do recall. They died right here. They died really early to the interceptors. I recall now. Here you go, Psychic Lash. Let's see if it can do a whole lot to this last cannon model. I mean, it's doing something. It's doing damage. Honestly, with this knockback from the interceptors, these guys are probably wiped. Wiped. I don't know what Naysmith was doing there. Why did he have the last cannon isolated and why did he not instantly retreat? I don't know, but DawnsElite must be laughing with that one. That was a huge pickup. And now there's no AV to kill the Grey Knight Dreadnought, so he can move forward again and continue his gen bashing endeavours. He got 1 gen over here, but if you do recall, Naysmith opted to split his gen farm in half. It's actually quite handy in this kind of instance. Now the Dreadnought needs to go to the other side of the map if it wants to achieve too much there. And now we've got the Strike Squad with their Justicar upgrade. We've got the Psychic Lash snaring that Force Commander and doing damage over time, so these guys are beating up that Force Commander. But the Captain does manage to sneak out of there. ASM kind of getting battered as well by the interceptors here. This is just looking bad for Naysmith. The scaling from the Grey Knights has become a bit too much. I find all these upgrades that Naysmith went for on the Force Commander to be a bit questionable. Going into a garrison when there is a heavy flamer Grey Knight Dreadnought nearby is not a good idea. Yeah, not a good idea at all. Runs back into the garrison. Not going to work, my friend. That's a heavy flamer. Your Stern Guard are dead. Yeah, that too was questionable. Obviously, he realised his mistake there, and then he got out, and then he seen interceptors and went back in. I don't know. Whatever. Buildings in tier 2, man. They can be a death trap. So I like what DawnsElite is doing here. He's not pressing his advantage too ridiculously. He could have gone up and gone for this gen bash, but he recognises the Dreadnought's low, and he doesn't have a lot of support on the field. He's going to take his time. No need to rush right now. VPs aren't too desperate for him, but they are getting quite low. I would start to put a bit more focus if I was DawnsElite on the VP situation. The problem for DawnsElite right now is somehow Naysmith managed to get to tier 3. And he has dropped down Terminator Assault Squad. Now he's got a few tools to deal with it. Psychic Lash is not one of those tools, that's for sure. The Justicar here has a power sword, so that will help. The Interceptor Justicar, I think, also has a power sword. You've got plasma guns, they'll do a little bit of damage. The main tool he needs to be using, yeah, is a dedicated melee Dreadnought. So 1730 HP on this bad boy because it's level 2, huge amount of HP. Its special attacks will send the Terminators flying. It obviously has full melee resist as a dedicated melee walker, does splash damage. Not that big of a deal against Terminators, but it helps. And then it gets the Emperor's Fist stun. So this guy will absolutely smash the Terminators in melee. The Terminators obviously should be avoiding the Dreadnought. Problem for Naysmith right now is that he doesn't actually have any ranged AV. Some missile tactical marines would be lovely. Oh, I forgot the Vindicator is on the field as well. Sniper damage does bonus against Terminator's super heavy infantry, so that should be pretty good. Terminators teleport forward onto the Vindicator. That is some huge commitment to try and kill the Vindicator. Get a very lucky special attack there, which yeets the Vindy towards Naysmith's base, so then he has to retreat through them. And the Terminators, there you go, they did their job, they executed that assassin very nicely, and are now going to run back to the base to heal. So that was nice. What wasn't so nice for Naysmith was the fact that he lost his ASM. But scouts have been a bit of a pain in the ass. They were sneaking around, took this VP off of DawnsElite. I think interceptors right now for DawnsElite need to be going over and pressuring this VP whilst the Terminators are healing up. The VP situation is getting a little bit dire for DawnsElite. What's he going for? That's the question. Is he wanting Paladins or Grey Knight Terminators? I would go for Grey Knight Terminators because these Terminators could get Lightning Claws, and then that's going to be problematic because they will actually be able to beat Paladins 1v1. Grey Knight Terminators will still also lose to the Lightning Claw Terminators, but they will put up a better fight than Paladins. Or he could just get a Land Raider Crusader. Fuck it, he's saving up so much money right now, that's probably what he's going to do. It's a little bit risky because there's so few VPs left for DawnsElite. I think he really needs to be focusing on the VPs. This is a mistake as well now. So he left the natural open. I think this sort of Dreadnought should have been rotated down to the natural and let the IST heal it there. Just because, you know, the VP threat right now is real. VP threat's actually getting very real with 87 VPs left now. Will the Interceptors notice the grenade? They did, but not quite early enough to dodge it entirely. Naysmith actually threw it behind the Interceptors there, kind of assuming that the reaction would be that they'd run backwards and see the grenade, but he didn't see the grenade, so he dodged a lot of the damage there. So here we go, it is going to be Paladins, and they're going to go straight for the natural VP of Naysmith. I mean, it's fine. Paladins or Grey Knight Terminators, they both work. It doesn't really matter because right now, Naysmith has no counter to this Grey Knight Dreadnought. Probably wants to be using his Emperor's Fist though. Nice special attack there, knocking over two of the Termies. Okay, Power Fist comes out for the Force Commander. But even then, this Dreadnought's so tanky. Both in terms of HP and the fact that he's got that 40% melee resist, so it's going to take forever to kill this damn thing in melee. There you go, finally using the Emperor's Fist. I was going to say, probably want to get some upgrades here for the Brother Captain. I don't think the Demon Hammer is particularly effective right now, because its ability only does weapon knockback, so I don't think it's going to knock over the Terminators here. Also, it's only basic melee, so the Terminators actually take reduced damage from it. Whereas the power melee, you would have a damage bonus rather than a damage debuff. So I think the Halberd probably would have been the best here. Or the Warding Staff, so that your Strike Squad can actually do a lot better against the Terminators. Wow, Paladins are teleporting after the enemy Terminators going into base. I don't think Paladins do enough damage once the base healing and damage resist kicks in. I don't think they can kill these guys. This is kind of a throw. Oh, there is a Predator tank out as well now. I mean, the VPs are looking good for DawnsElite right now. He needs to keep the VP pressure on. Are they doing enough damage? No, they're not. Paladins are going to die. They need to get out of there so badly. They've got their upgrades, so they can drop the Holy Ground to debuff the speed of enemies. They need to get out of there, man. What is he doing? Is he just trying to stall for the VPs? But the problem is, there's 193 VPs. There's still too many for Naysmith. This play would be great if there were only 70 VPs left for Naysmith, because then you're just stalling in the base to stop them taking the VPs and you win on VPs. But Naysmith is keeping a level head actually. Look at this. So he didn't keep the Predator there to shoot the Paladins because he realized what these Paladins are doing. They're not a threat. Sent it straight forward, took out the Bro Cap with it because DawnsElite wasn't noticing, he's too busy watching the Paladins. and constantly keeping pressure. DawnsElite didn't notice the grenade on the interceptors there. Purgation coming out, probably, yeah, to counter the tank. Conversion beam and Purgation would be a pretty good choice here. This is getting problematic. IST need to come to the mid and repair this Dreadnought. I think honestly the Dreadnought might want to just go down to this VP and defend there. This Dreadnought right now is just going to get killed by the tank. Paladins, they've got energy to do a teleport, but they can't catch a tank. If they had their Psy Cannons, they could probably chase down the tank and kill it, but they don't, so they're kind of useless right now against it. And the Dreadnought's going to die, so this is where DawnsElite is going wrong here. Should have moved the Dreadnought over here because the Dreadnought had no role trying to kill a tank, it can't do anything to it. And then you would both be defending this VP with the Dreadnought, whilst also the IST could repair it. It's not over. Yeah, this VP is vulnerable right now. Strike Squad can go take it. What the Paladins doing? They're AFK. They need to get back to base and heal, to be honest. Purgation Squad getting a little bit of damage here onto the Predator. Only one shot though. Not too big of a deal. So Naysmith is actually sending all of his troops over to this side to get the contested. So that means that there's nothing stopping the cap over here. Scouts retreat. They're probably going to rotate to this side, but Strike Squad should be able to take them on, no problem. Unless the scouts get a perfect grenade. Even then, I think the Strike Squad will win. So Predator's now rotated. We see the Lightning Claws coming out on the Terminators. Yeah, because now the Dreadnought's dead, so there's no reason for them to keep the Thunderhammers. And that's going to be a huge problem. Look how quickly they rip the Interceptors to pieces. Oh my god, they wipe them. Jesus. That's rough. And this force just can't really do a whole lot. The Demon Hammer's not very worthwhile, because it, like I say, it doesn't have a stun on its ability, it just does knockback. And you can't, it only does weapon knockback, so it doesn't knock these guys over. He did manage to kill one of those Terminators, I don't really know how, when they've got this much HP. Oh wow, Jesus! The damage on those Purgation. I guess there's been various Battlecry buffs and superior Battlecry buffs because of the Power Sword plus the Sacred Standard. That is a big damage boost on these Lightning Claw Terminators. DawnsElite focusing on the Force Commander does wipe him, but I don't... Did these Paladins teleport into combat here? Because if so, they're dead. Oh my god, the Paladins go down. Scouts have took over the cap here. Where did the Strike Squad go? They retreated. And yeah, there is no counter now to the Predator, nor a counter to the Terminators. DawnsElite throws in the towel. Quite a close game actually, quite a lot of back and forth there. I think some compositional mistakes, but not actually that many compositional mistakes. I think for DawnsElite in the early game, he just needed more units. Now, I'm not saying go to IST, though I think that is the meta, I'm not sure. Someone who plays a bit more regularly than me would have to clarify that down below, but if you don't want 2 IST, you're going to struggle dealing with scouts and the Force Commander. So what I would recommend is go fast operatives and then get your interceptors. Or shit, go interceptors and then go operatives, whatever. But you need 4 units in tier 1. I think you need the operatives. Operatives should be able to beat scouts 1v1. Scouts can't do their thing where they infiltrate with shotguns and shotgun blast you point blank and do a shitload of damage because operatives have detect. And operatives do full damage with their shotguns at range whereas scouts don't. So operatives will 1v1 the scouts quite easily, and operatives are fast as well. They're faster than IST, so they can keep up with the scouts. So then the scouts aren't any longer a problem for the map control. For the Space Marine to deal with that, he has to divert his Force Commander, his TACs, or his ASM to the sidelines to deal with the operatives, and that gives you the advantage in the main fight. When you've got the BC, the Strike Squad, and the Interceptors there, you should be able to win it. So I think that would have helped. I think the economy sort of snowballed out of control, but then DawnsElite started getting some good engagements. The Flamer Dread did actually pretty brilliant. Destroyed 1 gen, kind of lucky that the DawnsElite went to this side where there was only 1 gen and not over here with 2 gens, even though this is slightly more commitment. He probably would have got away with it and got the kill. That is something that DawnsElite could have scouted and maybe intentionally gone this side with the Dreadnought, but it's not a big deal anyway. I don't think the game came down to something as minuscule as that. Just the players here, you know, where the Dreadnought was needing repairs, and the IST were idle here, and the VPs were really low. Sending the Dreadnought with the Paladins down to this side where the Predator was just a massive strategic error, obviously, because the Dreadnought couldn't do anything to a Predator, it's too slow. And the Paladins would have just pushed the things off anyway. The Paladins had good HP to push the Predator away. The Dreadnought would have been much better going over here, getting repairs from the IST, and simultaneously been a defense for the VP. But then in the end engagements there, just losing the Dreadnought, it was terrible, because then it meant Lightning Claws came out. And Lightning Claws, they're good as it is, never mind when they're buffed by the Power Sword Battlecry, which does even more of a damage buff than normal Battlecry, and then Sacred Standard. Taking that fight there was terrible. As soon as he's seen the Force Commander and the Terminators running down, that should just been like, grab all your shit, retreat. You know, you had Purgation with a Beamer, they're going to die instantly, and they did, they're not going to do anything. Interceptors have no right fighting Lightning Claw Terminators, which are buffed by a Force Commander like that. It was just futile. I think I've seen the IST use a Plasma Overcharge. Well, these guys are immune to suppression, so that's useless. And then we've seen the Brother Captain with his hammer, but these guys are immune to weapon knockback, so that's useless. So that should have just been grab everything, retreat, and come back, reposition, push up this side, and try and snipe the Predator with the Beamer, and, you know, sort of get some sort of win like that. If you got one snare on the Predator with the Beamer, and then you jump Paladins in with a heavy melee when it's snared, then that's going to be really good. If you get side cannons on the Paladins, then even more so, because then, you know, you have a ranged AV sidearm. Just food for thought. Pretty good game, actually. Good compositions. Vindicare did quite well as well, actually. It's nice to see. Got quite lucky with the Terminator special attacking him and knocking him up the way. If they knocked him down the way and then he got up and retreated and ran down there, probably would have lived. And he was a great source of damage onto the Terminators, and also would help snipe the Predator. But anyway, there you go, that's Sloppy Saturdays. Thank you for the submission, DawnsElite. Thank you for tuning in, folks. Torpid, out.